Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on which I speak about astrology, and the Facebook page on which I wrote prophetic writings for years. The usual caveat, there are certain individuals who are stealing my identity and are using it, are impersonating me for doing fraudulent activity and criminal activity. I advise you to be discerning and not to engage with anyone in my comment section, and to avoid actually any kind of contact with somebody who would impersonate me, as I wouldn't contact anyone. So you can be assured that it's not me. Now, in this video, God has guided me to talk once more about providing different information, though, about how you respond to bullying. I already made videos on that, giving certain examples. However, God wants me to talk a little bit more about it. Of course, this is a very broad topic, and there are many, many ways in which you can answer to bullying. Psychologically, there is one certain logic, though, which can be a common denominator for all successful retaliations to bullying. Bullying is part of bullying is the definition of the gang stalking. This is why they do gang stalking, to bully you. And bullying is part of this kind of spiritual attacks which they conduct at you constantly on your subconscious level. If they don't find trauma in you to feed on you, they will create trauma by bullying you on subconscious level, or on certain topics which might, of course, are of importance to you. Something that makes you sad, something that would make you feel bad, something they actually target most particularly things that will undermine your self-confidence, because you need self-confidence and determination and willpower in spiritual fighting, and these are very important qualities. So they will create attacks around these objectives in order to make you feel bad about yourself, uncertain, not confident enough. Because even when you apply an attack as a retaliation to defend yourself, you need to be determined. Determination is very important in spiritual fighting. So they usually do this, and as I said in another video, this is part of the psychological warfare. And in psychological warfare, it's a protracted type of attack, namely it lasts for a long time, hoping that it's gonna wear you out. This is something that is not exclusively for psychological warfare. It's a psychological dimension in any conflict. Even in big wars that are very known in this world, this psychology type of attack is being used. That if it lasts for a long time, sooner or later it's gonna wear you off. This is also why in military strategies you always have elements of fortifying the morale of the soldiers, of the participants. Yeah, that is important. So it applies also in psychological warfare, always, and in spiritual warfare it applies as well. And I mean spiritual warfare conducted especially by these individuals, not by big forces. Now, so this is very important. There are certain rules in spiritual warfare, and one of the general rule, actually, which God has been trying I'm in constant negotiation with God about this, is, for example, that you do not engage with them because they feed on you. You engage with them when you develop ability to control your energy, yeah, because they feed on your energy. When you launch an attack, unless you perfectly control your energy, if you feel any kind of emotion when you launch an attack, they will get to feed on you. Even if they didn't succeed what they planned with that attack, they still succeed to feed on you. And God has shown this to me, particularly when before I started learning consciously about all of this witchcraft, sorcery, and stupid shit. And by that time, I was using the sword of light, and God kept showing to me, they only trigger you to use the sword of light in order to be able to attach entities to you when you do it, because of the emotions which you feel. So you have to learn to work first on withdrawal of the light body in order to be able to retaliate successfully, so they won't attach. Anyhow, it's a complicated matter, but my personal take on this, and I must say that at the end of the day, God agreed with me. Although, for example, there are situations in which God would say, don't retaliate now, I would say, no, I will retaliate. And I explained in one video why. Because it's important for you. It's very tailored, very much tailored, the situation on your psychological profile. If at a certain point in your spiritual fighting, their constant bullying and poking the bear, they keep doing this in order to trigger you, yeah. If you cannot manage that and it annoys you that much that you get angry, or the emotions they project on you start attaching to you, then there are specific times when it's better for you to retaliate, or at least for me, this is how it works for me. It's better for me to retaliate because I stand more to lose at that. I decide at this point in time, I stand more to lose if I continue to play stupid and not engage with them, simply because it's annoying me too much. Yeah. At this point, they got me angry. So if they got me angry, then I better retaliate instead of just sitting there in anger. Yeah. And of course, this will happen in spiritual warfare just because it takes a long time. As I explained about generational curses, which last for 49 years, and then they put a very atrocious type of fight when you get to the end of that cycle, because they know they stand to get karma regardless what they do. Yeah. Okay, so God asked me to talk about this is what God said. Explain, because I said to God, I don't know what examples to give so it will be useful to everyone. And God said, just explain your logic when you make this choice. Because I actually proved to God as well that although when I retaliated, they did get to feed a little bit on me, I got the satisfaction of retaliating, and I organized my retaliation in such a way so they will lose more than I lose. And I will explain to you how. This is basically my logic. I will make sure I will retaliate when I make sure that you will lose more than I lose from that attack. So there will be certain engagements, conflicts in spiritual fighting in which my aim is very limited. Basically, for me to release frustration, yeah, and you to lose more than I lose in that particular moment, yeah. So you don't think in terms of losing or winning, yeah. You just think in terms of, okay, let me study this individual. What's their strategy against me? So I'll make sure that when I retaliate, first of all, I catch him out of guard and I catch him by surprise. Yeah. And I will apply a retaliation forcefully enough so you will have to sit down for a few days and think about what went wrong and how that happened. Yeah, basically. So it's basically a situation where first you keep quiet. Even when you see that they are doing harm, you don't answer immediately. You keep quiet for as long as is needed for you to observe and understand your opponent well enough. So you will understand what is the aim of their attack, how they function, why they do it, and stuff like this. Then you keep quiet until you make sure that they deeply believe they are superior to you, that they won, basically, and that they destroyed you. You just keep quiet. Keep quiet and observe them, and make sure that you retaliate at a time when they don't expect it, yeah? In a way which they don't expect it, yeah? Because normally in this bullying thing, the usual objective a bully has is to keep nagging you, and you would be answering to that in an emotional state. You would be it will be a back and forth like this, you know, in which they succeed to control your anger, to elevate you and increase your anger, and to control you basically through that. So you just observe for a long time. You don't retaliate immediately, and you don't retaliate the way they expect you to, yeah? Just you can see when they attack you, you can see what they expect from you, and then you don't do that, because then it's just playing into their game, yeah? You just think of a strategy to retaliate in such a way so they will not get the satisfaction they need. They will not get to feed as much as they want, and the element of surprise and the type of attack you launch as a retaliation, first of all, it surprises them, and if possible, it destabilizes them. And another thing which I always do, when I would attack, when I'm done with you, there's no fucking way that you do anything back to me. And this has been always my strategy. Also because, as I said, not only because I studied military studies, but because I had this kind of debate type of engagement even in my profession. So I will make sure when I take the floor and I speak on a topic, there's nothing you can say back to me. So when I'm done with you, you're quiet. And you sit there and wonder, why the fuck did I start this with her? You know? So you make sure it's in such a way that when you retaliate, it's one hit, sort of say, and there is now nothing coming back at you. Yeah? Okay. Or at least for a while, because of course they will find something to retaliate back. But what I mean is that you must have an impact. You refuse, and this is a very strong advice I give, you refuse to be engaged in a tit for tat. I do this, you do that, I do this, you do... No. When I fucking do something, you won't move anymore. Da? So you make sure, this is why you're quiet and you observe, so you can build your strategy, how to do that, yeah? So you are quiet and you observe, and you create a psychological profile of the one who attacks you. And you retaliate only when you know that you created the situation, you switched, better say, you switched the situation in such a way, and you have enough proof, enough evidence, enough information, so you will build up a type of retaliation which, first of all, it's of impact. It doesn't drag you in a tit-for-tat continuous type of engagement. It's just one shot and you're done. And not only that you are done, but the other one is done as well for a while. Yeah? So you make sure of that. And then you confront, but you confront or attack, whatever. It's a self-defense, so yeah, you can consider it an attack, but it's a retaliation. When you have enough information first of all, about the individual, about the situation, and if it's the case, enough proof for you to actually move the situation forward. I'll give you one example which God has guided me to give. I explained in other videos, in June 2021, these creeps who are gang stalking me and impersonating me and have stolen from me and so on, they decided to launch an attack. They killed two puppies and they threw them in my courtyard. So when I got out in my courtyard in the morning, I found two dead puppies, which did not belong to me. They took them from the streets. They tried to poison my dogs, but I succeeded to save them. So at some point, they threw in my courtyard two dead puppies, which they took from nowhere, I don't know where from the street, and they threw them into my courtyard. At that time, there was one of my neighbors who kept attacking my dogs using technology, which is forbidden by law, actually. Yeah, I took pictures of that, so I have proof. Anyhow, so there was a conflict about this issue. So this individual decided to organize the gang stalking group to throw dead puppies in my courtyard in order to traumatize me, as you can imagine, because this is not something that you look forward to find in your courtyard or to deal with, because I had to deal with two dead bodies in my courtyard. Anyhow, the point is, in the morning, I actually wanted to get out, but when I saw already one of the dead bodies from the window, I figured, that it's them and they have done this attack. First of all, that those puppies could not get into my courtyard. No way, no shape, no form, because my fence, I have my own dogs. So my fence is perfectly airtight. It's not, you cannot enter. Anyhow, the point is the following. They created this in order to bully me. As I went into the courtyard to pick up the two bodies, because I had my own dogs and I was afraid that my dogs will get close to them, and God has shown to me that they were poisoned. The two dogs were poisoned. And I was like, I was afraid that they were poisoned and my dogs will maybe by chance bite or play with them and they will take the poison. So I had to get out to move the two bodies from the area where my dogs were. And this neighbor got out, it was an early time in the morning, got out on the balcony and he started yelling at me, extremely aggressive, you see, in order to bully me some more, because he figured it's not enough that I find two dead bodies in my courtyard. Later on, God has shown me that they used the two puppies. They killed them in a ritualic practice, basically, which they did. Anyhow, so he started yelling at me that you pretend that you care for animals, and instead of that, you didn't care to come out of your house when your dogs killed these puppies, and it was such a bloody scene. It was blood everywhere. There was no blood nowhere in my courtyard. My dogs were just fine in a totally different area. Basically, they were just playing among themselves. And my dogs were puppies themselves. They were exactly the same size with the puppies which were killed. And I was in the house painting my house at the time all night long. I would have heard if there would have been any kind of conflict, Anyhow, I didn't engage with him. He was just simply yelling. I cannot explain to you. He was yelling so loud, and he kept making accusations. And in his accusations, he was focusing very much on describing in very much detail how much blood and how much torture and how much, which was a lie. Of course, it was a lie. I could say it was a lie because I was just awake all night long painting my house. So I would have heard, Anyhow, I only said to him, this is not a matter of what my dog, and actually he closed his yelling intervention at me by saying, this is to serve you right because your dogs disturb me, you know. So he already showed that he was the one who planned it. Anyhow, I did not want to engage with him, but I also didn't want to keep completely quiet. So I only said to him, this is my property, and the only question that deserves to be asked at this point in time is how did these two puppies get into my property? And for sure, the only way they got here is because of these neighbors. And I turned around and I didn't speak to him. He yelled more, you know, like a crazy lunatic. I didn't answer to him. I didn't speak to him. I just took the two bodies out of there. And I then went inside and called the police. You know, and I'm like, I'm not gonna engage with you with stupid shit, yelling at each other like imbeciles. So I called the police to come, and I explained I found two dead bodies of two puppies. This is against the law. They are not mine. There is no way they got into my courtyard. Somebody threw them here. I believe they were murdered, and I would like investigations on this. You know, I'm like, you don't play with me like this. And I waited in the house for the police to come. And what this imbecile did, as the police arrived, they took the police inside his house to explain to the police their version of the story, you know. To my surprise, they actually had the video, which they, and he said this while he was yelling at me. We have a video to prove that it's your dogs who killed these puppies, and it is your fault, and it's your dogs are criminals and are a danger, and we will take your dogs from you. This was actually his goal, to take my dogs and to traumatize me. Anyhow, I didn't answer to that. I just entered the house. I called the police, and as the police came, this individual took the policeman. Other individuals who work in gang stalking together with him against me took the police inside with him. So early in the morning, all these neighbors, imagine this, it was very early in the morning, all these people knew about this, about the death of these puppies. Yeah, they were already prepared. They already had the video. They said this happened the previous evening. They didn't call anyone. They didn't come to me. They didn't yell. He was yelling at me as I was picking up the dogs. But when this happened, when this presumably attack by my dogs happened, they didn't say a word. They didn't intervene to stop anything. They didn't come to my gate to say, listen, there are two puppies who are killed in your courtyard or something, in case I wouldn't hear or something. They didn't call the police. They didn't call the authorities. Nothing happened, you know. They just sat and waited all night long until I got out in my courtyard, and they started yelling at me all of these accusations, you know. As the police came, they took the police in to his house, and they explained to him a narrative, which basically is more or less the same as they was yelling at that man was yelling at me. That look, we have a video. First of all, it's illegal to film in my courtyard. First of all, second of all, it was not true. There was no way for those puppies to get into my courtyard because the fence was untouched. Actually, I went to look at the fence. I said, "What happened? Maybe one of them poked a hole into my courtyard, into my fence, so the dogs would come in. There was no hole, nothing." Okay, so when I got out, at some point I got out because I couldn't understand why the police is not coming, and I observed the police was inside of his house. They were talking to him all together, basically, and they were explaining to him certain things. Now the policeman comes out, you know, and I tell him, I called 911. You were supposed to come to help me, and you arrived here and you talked to neighbors. I waited for him half an hour in front of my gate to come out of the house of this individual. Yeah. So I said, I asked for you to come. I called 911. It's normal to come to me because I supposedly am in a very dangerous situation, not to go to the neighbors and have chit chats to explain to you things. And the policeman, basically, the policeman was corrupted, and he was with them. I realized while I was talking to him, because the policeman says, I don't need to talk to you. I know what happened. I have a film. Your neighbor filmed everything. Your dogs are a danger to the society. We must take your dogs. This was what the policeman said to me. And I said, so it was clear. I'm giving you this example so you'll understand that it was clearly an attack orchestrated against me. And they had this policeman with them. Now, keep in mind that, as I said, for some years, since 2016, I live in a village on the outskirts of the capital. So here, I knew this. They know the mayor, they know the police, they know everyone. It's just a very small village. So I actually, the individual who built my house, which I purchased, worked at the police, and he is friends with them. So I knew that they know the police. This is actually why I did not file a report earlier, as they were harassing me. And I said, I will file a report, but when I have actual proof. So I don't go back and forth with them. He said, she said, he said, she said. But I will actually prove what I mean. Okay, so I expected to some extent that they can influence the police, because I knew they are friends here in this village all together. Anyhow, so the policeman says, we must take your dogs because I have a video, your neighbor filmed everything, your dogs are guilty, la 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 la. And I said, listen, this film is fake. The two puppies have been poisoned. And I want to file a complaint. I actually said, please come into the courtyard to see for yourself that there is no hole in my fence. There is no way for these dogs to come into my courtyard. So you will see for yourself that this is a lie. Everything gets orchestrated and it's a lie. Basically, the policeman refused. He did not, I insisted a long time. He refused. He didn't enter my courtyard. And then I said, okay. He refused to enter. He said, I already know everything, you know. As I was talking to the policeman, a woman across the street came out on the balcony, and she started yelling at me as I was talking to the policeman, you know, your dogs must go from here. They're a danger. You need to give up these dogs. We don't accept these dogs. And so I didn't even answer to that woman. And I was, who the fuck asked you if you agree? They're in my courtyard. What do you mean? Anyhow, I did not answer to that woman. I said to the policeman, listen, this is fake video. Now you refuse to enter my courtyard. I'm telling you, there is no hole in my fence. And I'm inviting you to come to see the scene where they were killed and to see the fence. And he said, no, I have the video, that's enough. And I said, the video is a fake. And I'm telling you, then basically he didn't want to do anything. So I said, okay, bottom line, what is your name? I need your name. Where you come from? Which police station you come from? And I said, what now? Take the bodies and do necropsy on them in order to find out the cause of death. And then he says, because this is part of law, they are supposed to take the body, the dead body. And he says, no, I'm not taking the dogs. And I said, come and take pictures of the dogs. What do you mean? I was forced in my own courtyard to take dead bodies from my courtyard, and you refuse to even look at them? He refused to look at the dogs, of the dead dogs. He refused to take the dead dogs. He said, I am not a policeman dealing with animals. I'm a normal police. This was during a weekend, and it was actually a celebration, national celebration at the time, religious celebration. So it was 3 days vacation for everyone. And he said, the police which deals with animals doesn't work at this point in time. It's just me, and I don't take dead bodies of animals. So this is it. So basically, he just wanted to leave. And I insisted, and I said, first of all, I'm telling you, these puppies were poisoned and were thrown into my courtyard by neighbors, first of all. Second of all, you refuse to do necropsy, as I understand. He says, no, I'm not taking bodies. I'm not, okay. Look into my eyes. I will do necropsy. I will do necropsy, and I will prove to you that they have been poisoned. Yeah. And then he already seemed a little bit uneasy and unsure what to do, you know. And I said, and lastly, I want to know, will you write a report about this? Or what is going on? Why you came in the end? Because I explained on the phone that I have 2 dead animals in my courtyard. So you knew it's about animals. Why you came if you don't want to do anything? Why you came? And why didn't you just defer to somebody else who's dealing with this? Because I imagine somebody is assigned in your institution to deal with this kind of situations. I spoke clearly on the phone and I explained exactly what's the situation. You came, you should be able to do something. So I said, are you going to write a report? And he says, yes, I will write a report, but I will write a report Monday in my office to my commander, chief, whatever. Yeah. And I said, good, I will come to your police station and I will write my version of the report. To be very clear, I want to file a complaint, a formal complaint about this. Now, he seemed very panicked at this point in time. So he says, well, if it is so, then give me your personal data so I can put them in the report. So I gave him my ID, of course. But the law says he was supposed to do the report here at the scene, not in his office later on. And he wasn't supposed to do the report when I pushed him to do it. This was part of his job. It was part of his job to call on specific forensics people to come and take pictures and also to take the dead bodies. It's not normal for me to wander around with dead bodies in the city, you know. Anyhow, I did not say anything to him in this regard. I only asked him, are you taking? No. Are you doing this? No. Okay. We will meet on Monday in your office. When he heard this, he was like, you cannot come to my office because I report to my commander. You cannot talk to my commander. This is also against the law. I can fucking go in any police station I want and I can talk to whoever I want. You don't dictate to me. So to me, at this point, it was very clear. It was very clear that he didn't intend to write a report, and that he doesn't want the story to go out. Basically, he wants to cover up everything. Yeah. So I was like, I will come to your office and I will talk to your superior about this, and I will make a report. To be very clear, and I invite you now once again, insistently, to come into my courtyard. And look at the fence, so you don't tell me when I write the report that you don't have proof that my fence was perfect, yeah, or that I fixed it afterwards, or any kind of this kind of bullshit, yeah. So basically, he had someone with him, a very young student. He was actually learning at that point in time, and he said, "You go with her. You go with her and take pictures of the fence." Yeah. So the young man came, took pictures. He actually annoyed me, this young man, even more, because I said, look at the fence. Do you see that it is perfectly tight and there is no sign of any kind of disturbance? How did these 2 puppies get into my courtyard? Explain to me. You explain to me. You make it make sense to me. And basically he couldn't, but he said, maybe your dogs pulled them in. But again, my dogs were just the same size as those puppies. My dogs were puppies at the time. Anyhow, it was very absurd what they did. So I was like, okay, so you're together in this. I did not expect for them to be this out in the open. I thought that the policeman that would come at least will pretend to follow procedure, you know, and will just write a bad recommendation. you know. But I did not expect that they will be behaving like this, like refusing to even, they didn't take the bodies. They refused to take the bodies. The police left without taking the bodies. And I had to struggle a lot to force that individual to come in, not the policeman, but the student, to at least take picture of the fence, yeah, and of the two bodies. He wouldn't look at the two bodies, you know. And I'm like, you're a policeman. What the fuck you mean? What if a human gets killed? You don't look at the human. What do you mean? I don't understand this. Okay. Anyhow. So I tell this policeman, after he takes the pictures, I tell him, listen, I will come to your office and I will make a report. I will do necropsy meanwhile, and I will prove to you that they were poisoned. Then he says, yeah, he was unhappy, exactly like this. He said, yeah. He turned around and he went to these neighbors of mine who were basically in the courtyard. He went to their gate to make them come out, and basically, and I was standing there 2 feet away from 2 feet away from them, you know. So the policeman says to them, warns them, he says, be cautious, she wants to do necropsy, which was his job to do otherwise, you know. She wants to do necropsy. It is, be cautious. I recommend to you, you file a complaint against her before she does this. Unbelievable, you know. And one of the neighbors who actually was, they got together to watch and to keep bullying me while I was talking to the police, and the police wouldn't stop them, you know. It's unbelievable. And one of the neighbors says, yeah, I have 2 children. What if, your dogs are a danger to the society. What if my children decide to put their hands through your fence and your dogs will bite them? Okay, I didn't answer to this creep because I knew he's part of the gang stalking group. So I didn't even answer to him. The policeman picks up the topic, he turns to me and he says the same thing. Look, lady, your neighbor here has 2 children, you see. What if the 2 children put their hands through your fence and your dogs bite them? Do you understand how absurd this situation was? And this is my private property. So you as a policeman say that it is okay for somebody to violate my property and put their hands through the fence into my courtyard, yeah? And that I should organize things in my courtyard so it will be okay for them to do this. And I shouldn't have dogs in my courtyard because it disturbs them when they do this. But I knew because they are throwing graveyard dirt into my courtyard. Not his children, but this man himself does this often. Okay, so I did not. So normally I should have made a huge scandal. You know, how the fuck is okay for you as police to defend his view when I am talking about my private property? How the fuck is this right with you? But at this point, it was clear to me that this is part of the gang stalking attack. And I was like, it is my private property. And in any courtyard where there are dogs, if you put your hand through the fence, the dog will bite you. Because this is the job of the dog, to protect the property. Yeah, go to any fence now and put your hand through the fence if you have guts. And let's see what happens. Anyhow, the policeman says to them, don't talk to her anymore. In my face, he says, don't talk to her anymore. Go and file complaint against her. And I'm like, okay. I didn't say anything. I just watched them and listened to them, what they're saying. Then the neighbor who was yelling and making all this scandal and who actually was invited the police to their courtyard, he said, Mr. Policeman, but I asked her to change the fence which divides the properties, and she refuses because her dogs bothered me. You see, but my dogs literally were not bothering him. His dog is always starting, even now, conflicts with my dogs. Anyhow, and the policeman picks up the topic. which is not even an issue which the police is entitled to tackle. The fence is my property. I purchased the property way 1 year before this individual even moved into the area. It is my fence, my private property, and I will not allow him to build a different fence just so he will take the property of that fence, because this is what he wants. And this actually is important for everybody to know. The property of your fence, it's part of your rights in 3D. The individual is not allowed to do anything on the fence if it's your property without your accord. And if it's his property, then he can do whatever he wants on that fence. So this is very important, because a lot of spiritual attacks are being sent this way, pertaining whose property is that fence. If it's your property and he sends spiritual attacks through that fence, then he in a spiritual court of law, he's punished. Yeah, and even in a 3D court of law, he's punished if he does anything to a fence which is your property. So this is very important issue. He was struggling for 1 year. He didn't talk to me directly about it, but he actually was talking to other neighbors, sending them to me, telling me that I should allow him to change, to make his own fence instead of my fence. No, let him make the fence he wants in his own courtyard. In my courtyard, I already have fence. I was the first to move in the area. All of them came after me. All of them. Yeah. So I'm not forced to give you anything. I'm not giving you property over the fence. It's my property. Yeah. Anyhow, the policeman picks up the topic. And he says, listen, look, you're disturbing the neighbor. Allow him to build a different fence. But he's not allowed to enter in this topic. This is not in the job description of the police, you know. And I actually got angry at this point, and I said, no, this is the fence that stays. This is my fence. This is the fence from construction. It was approved by the city hall. Nobody can complain about it, because this is how I purchased the house. If the city hall gave permission for this fence to be built, then this is it. I will change it if I want, when I want. I don't want, just to calm you down. It's not going to happen. So this individual thought that he tried to force me to accept him taking the property of the fence through different individuals. And then he figured, if he has the policeman there and is working with him against me, then I will get scared because of the policeman said so, and I will give them. And they were very determined. The policeman left there, my place, in total accord with everyone else. We will take your dogs. He said to me this. We will take your dogs. I did not answer that, but I was thinking in my head, who the fuck gives you permission to take my dogs, imbecile? Do you know the law? You're not allowed by the law to do this. As a policeman, you only can come and report on the situation. There are different authorities which deal with this. And there are certain conditions which must be observed in order for such a measure to be taken. There are 20 dogs, stray dogs on the street. Nobody cares for those dogs. Nobody is bothered by those dogs. They are bothered by the dogs in my courtyard, which, by the way, I took from the street as well, because they were killing them. Yeah, anyhow. I didn't say anything to him. I just said, I will not allow for a different fence. This is my fence. This is how it stays. My dogs are defending my properties. My property, my dogs did not kill these puppies. And I will prove it through a necropsy, which I will do if you refuse to do it. It was summer. It was very hot. So the police left. And before he left, I told him, I will see you in your police station on Monday. I will see you in the police station. They were very happy, because they figured they will break me down, because now the police was on his side. So then, do you imagine how scared I will be? I only said to the policeman this: I will see you on Monday in your office. And he says, no, you're not allowed to come to my office. You're not allowed to come to my office. And I said, no, I will come to your office and I will make a report. You cannot stop me from that. Then he paused for a second, and then he said, you're not allowed to come to my office. You can only come to the local police station. You're not allowed to come to my office. The local police station, as I said, is hand in hand with them. So uh, basically, his idea was that I am not allowed to go somewhere where my declaration will be taken in consideration. It must be covered up, you know. Okay, so at the end I said, no, I will come to your office and I will see you in your office. And then I entered the courtyard, he left. Okay. I took the bodies. It was weekend and it was very hot. I took the bodies to one of these authorized official authority which deals with necropsy of animals. I had to learn where to find it. I took the bodies there and I requested necropsy on them, which was very odd. They told me, lady, when this situation happens, normally it's the police who takes the bodies. Normally, we don't take this from random people. It's just the police who should bring the bodies to us, and we are doing the necropsy and giving a copy to the police. And the police is supposed to bring you the report. You are not supposed to do this. I also didn't have a car. I had to pay for a taxi to go into the city to this authority with 2 dead bodies in my car. You can imagine how imbecile. Anyhow, this was really frustrating, as you can imagine. So this is one type of attack done in order to get you angry. It's pretty obvious to you, yeah. So I of course got angry throughout this time, but I controlled my anger, and I was like, okay, there's just one. I was talking to myself, yeah, as I was back in my house. I was like, I'll make sure you'll regret this. That's all I have to say. I'll make sure I will regret this. So then I started asking guidance, and then Jesus showed me. Basically, they created this situation because part of my I was doing at the time, and you can find my prophetic writings on this. I was doing bondage breaking by animal embodiment, which I explained in my writings how it is done. So God sends a soul into an animal embodiment when bondage is created against that soul, so he will not be able to incarnate as a human. Yeah, and there is so I actually had a spiritual purpose in what I was doing, you know, and God has shown to me this is something that you have always done, and they created these fake accusations and all this attack at you in order to have an official paper saying that you killed dogs, that you're not good with animals. So they will have a right in their convent to block your access to animals, because you always have done huge spiritual fighting through animals. Yeah. So because of this, they created this in order to block you, so you will not be able to break bondage through the souls which I've sent to you through these puppies. So this is not just something to annoy you. They have a deeper purpose in doing this. Yeah. Anyhow, I got angry. Of course, I understood and I asked Jesus. So I said, okay, so what now? How is this coming out? Because they are very focused on taking my dogs. And Jesus said, no, you won this battle the second when you called the police. Because what they were planning to do, they were hoping that you will throw the bodies somewhere and they will make the complaint to the police. This was a test for you, basically, because they wanted to make a complaint to the police about you killing puppies and throwing them in the woods. They had a whole story built up. God has shown to me afterwards what was their plan. This was a test. Anyhow, on Monday, I go to the necropsy because I was told when the doctor who performs the necropsy comes, you must come to discuss with him and to pay, because this is supposed to be paid for. Yeah. So I went Monday to discuss. I didn't talk to them anymore. I just didn't talk to them anymore. I entered my house and I didn't even say anything to them. I just did research in astral so I understand the situation to the extent possible, because when you're in a test, you cannot learn, you don't receive that much information. So I left the bodies. Monday I went to the necropsy institution in Bucharest in order to discuss with the doctor. of course, the doctor explained to me that they have these situations very often. And of course, it is part of the spiritual fighting and so on. We had an interesting discussion. I told them I think it's poison. He discussed with me different type of poisons that are being used, because it was an extremely broad area of necropsy analysis that could have been done. I could not afford from my money to pay for all of them to be done. So we had to choose which ones to be done. Yeah. Anyhow, by the time I returned to, I intended to go to the police afterwards. By the time I returned to my house, I already received a phone call from the police saying that the local station police is requesting you to come because we received information from police station from Bucharest that you called 911. We ask you to come make a declaration why you called 911. So to me it was obvious that individual did not want me to go to his police station and to make the report, because he was supposed to show me the report he wrote. He didn't show me anything. I didn't see anything. I don't know what he wrote. And he was not planning to write a report because he was going to leave without even taking my name. He was just using that video. And that was all. He just didn't want me to go to his office, basically. He just wanted me to come to the local police station, because here these individuals have power. It's, as I said, it's a village, and the house I bought here was built by an individual who used to be the chief of the police in the area. Yeah, so it was obvious to me. They are friends altogether, so it was obvious to me that it's a plan to cover up. And I answer the phone and I say, okay, I was planning to go to this police station because this is where the policeman came from. And he said, no, but the policeman wrote a report and he sent it to us and he requested that you would be interviewed here. I said, okay. So basically, they were blocking me, And then I said, okay, I will come tomorrow to your police station because today I already was at the necropsy. So I will come tomorrow at your station. So basically they were very happy and they were all laughing as I was returning to my house from the necropsy, because they figured, they covered up everything. So I made a petition addressed to the higher level, the regional police, overseeing everyone that was involved in this, and dealing with the animals. But I sent the petition to the center, there's a center of the institution which receives all petitions and then they redirect them. And I wrote in my petition that the policeman who came refused to enter the courtyard. He refused to take the bodies for necropsy. He refused to make a report in my presence. I wrote about the policeman. Yeah. I wrote in that petition complaint about the policeman and about the situation, explaining that those puppies were thrown in my courtyard. Okay. By this, to make a pause here, by this, what did I do? Just to show you, I did not engage with the policeman in a fight. Because this is what they were trying to do, to get me angry because the policeman doesn't take my side and he's not being objective. And he actually does not want to observe the situation, does not want to report the situation properly, and doesn't want to make justice. But he is against me, actually. So, of course, that was frustrating to me. But I recognized the pattern immediately. I understood that they're together. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ask the right questions to make sure that I can build my case. And when I make these accusations in my report, then I have proof that I did ask you to come in and you refused. I did ask you to take the bodies and you refused. This was part of your job. You refused to write the report and you refused to let me come to read the report. Anyhow, so this is what I mean. You just keep quiet. You don't, you see, you observe, you let them make the mistake, because that will be how you build your case. Do you see what I'm saying? This is why I'm giving you this example. So you will see it was normal for me, especially under that situation, to become emotional and angry. Yeah. But you don't retaliate. You understand that you're in a spiritual fighting. You just keep quiet. Let them make the mistakes which you can use against them. Because otherwise, they will keep you constantly in a she said, he said, she said, you see, you're not getting out of that. And if I would have engaged in a fight with a policeman, which I was entitled to at that particular time, because he was breaking the law and the procedures, the normal behavior of a policeman and everything. But if I would have engaged in a fight with a policeman, they would have said, oh, you see, she's crazy. She makes scandal with the police. We were witnessed, all of us. And this is how they behave, and they make untruthful declarations. They create a crisis situation in order to trigger you so they can make the accusations. So I was like, okay, I will make sure that you'll regret this moment, all of you, yeah. And so I made the petition. I sent it to their headquarters, and this gets a number of registrations. So this is official document. Yeah, this is official document. And next day I went to the local police station, where I encountered a different policeman, which actually was polite, and he allowed me to write the report. But before I started talking, before I sat down, I said, I just want to tell you from the beginning, I made the petition to the regional police. And he asked me, and what did you write? And I explained to him the situation. Look what happened. And the policeman that came refused to do this, refused to do that. Please tell your colleague, because as I understand, you work together in the same location. Please tell your colleague that I made petition to the regional level, and I informed of his misbehavior and of him not respecting the procedures that he was supposed to follow in that intervention. And now I'm ready to write my declaration. And please tell him that I will not allow that this be covered up. Yeah? Just send him this message from me. Just please make sure that he knows that I did this. And I actually wrote in my declaration, I begin this declaration by stating that I made the petition at the regional level, this, because the policeman who came at the when I called 911, and then I explained everything in my declaration. Yeah, I also said in that declaration, I gave examples which I kept before, examples of their harassment before. And when I concluded of explaining the situation, I said I would like to emphasize this situation was created by individuals who have been harassing me for years. And I give the following examples. And then I wrote there, this was in 2021, last year, yeah? I wrote there, most important attacks that they have done at me for years since I moved here. Now, what you must understand, this is also part of the same strategy which I explained to you, in observing, taking note, and understanding what is being done against you. But you don't go in, I did not go into the police to make complaints for every single thing they've done. Why? Because they downplay it. They say, oh, she misunderstood me. I actually didn't want to insult her. I actually meant well. Oh, but I didn't mean to upset her. You see, but they will turn around all of this. Yeah, and first of all, the police will actually say, or any authority you go to, you don't come to us with small stuff, first of all. Second of all, it's a he said, she said thing. So even the police basically has no argument to deal with that kind of situation. In order to actually make your point get across, you have to have some sort of evidence, because otherwise police will do nothing. They will say, okay, you said this, he said this, now what should I do? How should I determine who said what? Yeah. So you have to build a case before you, why? Because they use this kind of description in gang stalking, namely that you are crazy, that you're irrational, that you are emotional and you make a drama and you make a scandal and you're disturbing the community. What the fuck community? When I moved here, there was nobody. I actually chose a spot where there was no neighbors, left or right. Actually, those were land which I purchased. I was going to pay for that land with the money from my project, which they stole. So they stole also the land from me. But there was no neighbor around me. What community you're talking about? Everybody, they came after me because later on I understood about this gang stalking and convent and bondage creation. And then I understood why they are following me outside of the city and building houses around me just for this purpose. Anyhow, the point is, you do not volunteer for information until you are sure that you can prove their ill intent towards you. You cannot prove on each and every single detail that you will report, but if you prove their ill intent towards you with evidence, like it was this case, murder of 2 puppies, then you can be taken in seriously about other accusations that you will make. Yeah. And meanwhile, you start gathering proofs. After they created this situation against me, I started making photos when they throw things in my courtyard, because this neighbor of mine, he was throwing stones at my dogs in my courtyard, and then he was complaining that my dogs were bothering me. Why you throw stones at them in my courtyard? Of course they'll bark at you. This is not normal that you do this. Why you do this? You do this to annoy them so you'll have a reason to complain. Yeah. Anyhow, this is an example how you build your case. And this is not over. So I wrote the declaration at the police, explaining the situation, making a complaint against the individual, the policeman who came. But again, I emphasize, I did not engage in a conflict with the policeman. Because if you understood that he works with them, there's no purpose, there's no win for you in this. I will make sure I go at a higher level and I report you. So you will be punished by someone which actually you care for, namely your superiors. You know, so this is what I mean by surprise. I kept quiet throughout this entire dialogue, although it was very frustrating to me, and it was totally illegal what he did. Yeah. And because if you retaliate from the very first moment, first of all, you don't get to observe correctly everything else because you're too angry, and they will make sure to create more emotional trauma on you. Second of all, you give them, they will use that against you. You give them the opportunity to say you're dramatic, you're emotional, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. Although they created the situation, you're not crazy. But the point is, you have to use that information at the proper time. Okay? And God has shown me afterwards, after I filed the report at the local police station, after I did my petition, I waited because I was supposed to be called to go and make a declaration at the regional level now. Yeah. And before I went to the regional level, God has shown to me one day before, yeah, that these 2 neighbors of mine who were actually talking to the policeman who came at my gate when I called 911, already spoke to the regional level policeman. So God showed me the dialogue between them. One of them saying, how can we destabilize her before she goes into the regional level, because this was already in the capital, so it was already, I was moving the story into the city, so they were already concerned about this. They did not expect all of this from me. And the other one explained, yeah, I already spoke there, and I have my people, there are my people who actually will deal with her there. Okay, so then I go to the regional level next day when I'm called to go. And as I enter the police station, this was a police which was dealing specifically with animals, so with aggression towards animals. Yeah, I meet the individual who actually called me and programmed I told him on the phone, I have a long declaration to make, so make sure please that you schedule this when you have time. Don't tell me, because he said we don't have much time, come and we'll take 10 minutes and then you go. And I said no, I have a lot of things to say. Make sure you program, you schedule this meeting when you have time, so I can write my full declaration. I go there. The first thing as I enter, he says, please, this way. I enter into an office where there were 15 people. So it was a chair in the middle, 15 people surrounding me in a circle, you know. And as I start talking to the policeman who actually called me to go there, all of them start yelling at me at the same time, basically. You are not allowed to give declarations. We don't have time. We have scheduled some other activities. We cannot stay here. We need to go. I was like, what the fuck? Do you see my point? Basically, literally, they refused to let me write the declaration because they said, we only need you to write what we tell you. They actually said this to me. We will dictate to you what to write. What the fuck? I was like, oh my God. I was angry, you can imagine. It was really frustrating experience. But it was clear to me that, of course, they are working with them. And they said, we tell you what to write. We tell you what information we need. And they said, you haven't been there. You don't know the situation. I have more things to say. Literally, and I, at some point early in the discussion, I turned around at one of them who was extremely aggressively yelling at me from my behind. He was sitting behind me in the circle. And I turned around and I said, what is this here? What is this here? Who are you? I understand I came here, I introduced myself, and I understand I came here to talk to this policeman who called me. Who are you? Why are 15 people talking to me at the same time? And I was going to say yelling, not talking. And one of them who was older, he said, I am the chief of the team and so on. And I said, I don't talk to 15 people at once. Choose one that talks to me. Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to be intimidating me like this, you know. And I explained the situation, and I said the situation is more complex. I need more time to write my declaration. And he said, you cannot. We only have 10 minutes. I will tell you what to write. And I said, no, then I will not make the declaration, and I will come at a different time to make my declaration because I want to write more. Okay. Now he said, okay, we will give you 15 minutes. We started negotiating. It was a stupid ass situation. And normally, I should have stood up and request to speak with a superior because that was not acceptable what they did. First of all, you don't dictate my declaration. You allow me to write my declaration. I had a struggle with them for every word that I wanted to write in that declaration. And at the end of the day, simply after I wrote like 3 parts out of 4 of what I wanted to write, they literally forced me to go. They didn't let me finish. They said, you can send to us by email the rest, whatever you want to write. We cannot stay more because we must leave. It was clear to me, first of all, that they work together with these ones and that they are influenced. And it was clear to me that it's illegal what they do. But I wanted to make my declaration as much as possible. I did send the emails. So during the engagement, I did not enter into a conflict with them. Okay, I could have. Although I could have. But I was entitled to have a fight with them, pending on the unacceptable way they were behaving, first of all, and disrespectful. You don't yell at me, and you don't surround me with 15 people who all of them start yelling at me and talking at the same time as I am talking, so we don't hear each other, so you don't create this kind of mess with me. But I wanted to make sure that I filed the complaint at a higher level than the local level. This was already Bucharest location, yeah. So I succeeded to write a long declaration with most of the information which I wanted to convey. And he said at the end, he said, you can send us emails afterwards with whatever else you have to include. But before that, the concluding paragraph, you must write what I tell you. This is all I have to declare. And then sign. And as you can see, if I write this, it was obvious in my mind, this is all I have to declare, means that nothing else will come afterwards. So then the emails I will send, you will throw them away, right? So when he said this, I looked at him. It was clear to me that this is what he intends to do. So then, before I wrote the paragraph he said, I introduced another paragraph without telling him, because this is my declaration, get the fuck away, yeah? So I introduced the paragraph on my own, and I said there, in addition to all of the above, I will send emails with additional information regarding the type of the harassment and the attacks that there have been conducted against me in this region by the same people who have created this murder of the 2 dogs and the situation which I'm reporting. And I will send the emails as guided by, and I put his name there, by Officer X and Y, yeah? And then I wrote the paragraph he said. This is all I have to say, and then signature. Do you understand my point? And then, of course, I went home and I sent the paragraphs. I sent the additional emails and the pictures, which I said by email, you know. I waited for a few days to get confirmation or any kind of reaction actually I waited for 4 weeks or 3 weeks, something like this, to get a reaction from them. I didn't get a reaction. So then I made a formal complaint to higher level headquarters of the police in Bucharest. And I made a complaint about them, about the police, the regional police, explaining that they refused to let me write my full declaration, and they forced me to leave, saying that I can send emails afterwards. By that, I made sure that they will have to present the emails. They cannot throw them away, basically. And I said that I basically sent those emails to the address, and this is what and that they dictated to me what to write, and all of that. I make complaints about them, you know. And I'm like, so you will understand this is a gradual, because if I would have gotten into a fight with the regional police, I wouldn't have succeeded to file my complaint. They would have talked to, probably somebody else would have been assigned to talk to me, but they already would have had an internal problem. They would have said, okay, she didn't get along with the police who came there. She didn't get along with the regional police. She doesn't want to write a declaration. She doesn't have anything to say. She doesn't, you see? So you let them make the mistakes. It's illegal to dictate to me what to write in my declaration. It's illegal. It is your practice. It's a very illegal practice. It's my declaration. I write whatever I want. If I write a declaration and he says, you need to write in our logic, but I was going to say in my mind, are you stupid? You cannot take the information you need from my declaration. You have to dictate to me what to write and how to write. Do you actually believe that you're capable of giving me advice on how to write a text? And I'm not hired in the police. I don't have to write my declarations according to your rules. You can say you're interested in having certain information included in the declaration. That's a different story. But you don't write my declaration. This is a freedom which you impinge on. Yeah. Anyhow, my point to you is to show, because this is already a long video, you don't retaliate immediately. Because if I would have said this from the beginning, if I would have said to the regional policemen, you work with them, I know you work with them. Of course, I knew they work together. God has shown to me before I stepped into that office that they were actually already working with the ones here, and they promised to these ones that they wouldn't let me write a declaration, yeah, or at least not the way I would have seen it. But I did not retaliate. I let them make the mistake. And then I reported the mistake. You don't stop them from making mistakes. You use those mistakes against them. And I'm not entering into a fight with you. We're not on the same level to get into a fight. Yeah? I will report you to your superiors who actually can take care of you. Yeah? So of course, at each phase, the local police, the policeman who came upon 911 call, did not expect me to make petition at the regional level. That was a surprise blow for them. Yeah. Then after that, they figured we covered everything up. Nobody knows. And then I filed a complaint over the regional level because they thought they have that covered as well. So I filed complaints until they, when I'm done with this, as I said in the initial part of the video, you will sit down and you will regret that you started with me. If you force me into a conflict, I ignore you for a long time. But if you force me into a conflict situation, I will only retaliate when I make sure that you will regret yourself that you started that with me. And when I retaliate, you will be silenced. I don't fucking go back and forth with you. When I speak up, you will shut up. And I will make sure that I will speak up when I will make sure that I'm capable of shutting you up. Yeah? So this is the psychological dimension of how you structure a retaliation to be successful. The element of surprise is very important in this. The element of surprise and understanding your opponent and doing research and asking divine guidance about your opponent to understand how to work with him. I'm going to stop here because it's way too long. God, for some reason, asked me to give you these examples. Maybe some of you deal with this kind of situations, and maybe it's useful to you. I'm really going to stop here because it's over 1 hour and it's very hard to upload. I hope this helps you, and if it's needed and God shows me that it's needed, I will go over the topics of how you structure a retaliation again in a different video.